Everybody's favorite thing to do is to kill weeds and do yard work in the summertime. I've got my Husqvarna 4-gallon sprayer here, and I'm going to try out this Ortho GroundClear, and I'm going to see what kind of results I get and show you the method that I used and let you see if those results are going to work for you. When selecting any type of weed killer or anything you're going to use on your lawn, I always try to make sure I buy these in the concentrate, because if you buy them in the premix, you're really just buying water. Another thing I look for is the active ingredients. How much active ingredients do they have? And in this example, this one has a 40% active ingredient. Double check that. A lot of times you buy stuff that may only have 1% active ingredient. I just don't know that they're that effective. Mixing instructions on the back of this product tell you to use 16 fluid ounces per gallon of water. I'm actually going to try to use 8 ounces per gallon of water. At their recommended mix ratio, it tells you should see that some of those weeds turn brown within an hour or two. So I'm just going to try to dump this entire bottle in my 4-gallon sprayer and see what kind of results I get. One of the main areas I'm going to check for effectiveness is right here around my AC units. I had put some gravel down a couple years ago, and I did not put any barrier protection down here, but I'm just going to try to see if just spraying these keeps these weeds at bay. Here's another area I'm going to be concentrating on. You can see how the grass has kind of crept into the flower bed, and I need to put some more mat and some more bark down right there. But before I do that, I want to kill this grass so there's nothing growing underneath there. And you can see if you've got any kind of flower bed like this, it's hard to weed eat around these rocks, so I'm going to see how it performs in that area. One more area I'm going to try to show you the before and after. If you've got a shadow box fence like we have here, you break your weed eater line every time you try to weed eat around this zone. So I'm going to try to kill some of that grass that's growing right up underneath that section, so maybe I don't have to weed eat near as much. This is the before, and then hopefully we get a good result for the after. So we are about 3 to 4 hours in from when I initially sprayed this area. This is the air conditioning area, and if you remember, this was all green. So within 3 to 4 hours, we're already seeing results as if it's burnt these weeds here. We do have about 90-degree temperature right now, so that's also helping with this. I recommend spraying it during the daytime to see some of this result. On the flower bed area, we're definitely seeing some browning where I sprayed it right there around the rocks. We're seeing this area here, and where I need to put that new mulch down, we're seeing that that grass has started to turn brown. Not near as much as it did on the other side of the house where it had those other kind of weeds, but definitely it has started to turn this grass in this area brown. So we'll see, follow up a little bit more. Again, this is about 3 to 4 hours after first application. And remember, I didn't do the full strength as they recommended, so we're just trying to see what this will do at the same amount that I mixed earlier. Here's one of the areas along the fence line that we were going to check on as well. We're seeing some browning right here where we see the grass is kind of dying off a little bit. Not as significant of a change, but I could definitely see any of that grass that was right up in this shadow box area of the fence is definitely turning colors. Again, this is at 3 to 4 hours, so we'll check it a little bit later and see what we get. So this is the about 6-hour update from spraying the weeds this morning. Not any real significant changes other than you could tell all this is already dead. You can see some weeds got a burning look to them right there. So I'm going to let these sit. We'll do another follow-up on these in about 24 hours. The 6-hour update here on this grass near the rocks is lost all color. This section right here, you can see in between the rocks, anything that was in that area is also lost all color. So these areas of the fence line still see some green in some of these zones here, but definitely got a good bit of that that's lost color, like sections like this right here. And again, this is about the 6-hour update. Here's my final follow-up on the weeds by the air conditioning. It has literally killed everything. This is about a 24 to 48 hour window here, and everything is pretty much gone. There is no green or anything, and I feel very confident that the mix ratio I used is good enough for this style of weed. You can see there's nothing left. This is that overgrowth of the grass. Following up one last time, about 24 to 48 hours. Everything is definitely turned brown. there's no more growth moving into the rocks here. This is actually all dead grass here, so I can now put some more mulch down, put some more mat down underneath to stop the weeds from coming through. I just didn't want to do that with this grass still growing into that section. So it's definitely killed that. I would probably raise that ratio up a little bit more for the grass, but I still think it's done very well. Here's the section of the fence line that we've been reviewing. You can still see there's a few little greens there. Not much. Could have just been the way I sprayed in my spray pattern. But a lot of that around the box section of the fence there has died. So I think it's a good mix ratio. Probably, again, would go a little bit higher for the grass portion depending on what type of weed and what type of ground you're trying to clear there. That completes my review for this Ortho GroundClear for weed and grass control. Remember I mentioned you should always look for that active ingredient. This has a 40% active ingredient. I think that the mix ratio that I used, which was 8 ounces per gallon of water, I think worked perfectly for the weeds I was trying to control. If you wanted to get a little bit more aggressive, and I think I might if I was doing this for grass, you may want to get a little bit closer to, say, 10 ounces or even the 16 ounces recommended per gallon for controlling of grass. I'll have links for this in the comments below if you're interested. Hope this information was useful or helpful, and if it was, please subscribe and share. And that's to the point.